So, welcome back to another week here at Basin Motorsports on the WideFox build. I'll tell you, this week has not gone as I planned, honestly. So I had great ambitions to get out here and really get WideFox going, and I thought this weekend was going to be the weekend that I got this thing to start and to fire it up, because there's only this little stuff left. Well, that hasn't happened, but I tell you this, I think I'm within a 2-week window. So this week's kind of shot. It's Thursday, what is it, like 8 in the morning? I'm still in PJs, and I thought, oh, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to film, and yay, I'm going to film a bunch of stuff, and you guys are going to be real proud that the car runs. I'm just going to throw the week away. It's Thursday, and I've got too much to do before now and Saturday. So I'm going to show you what I've got done this week so far. So the wiring's starting to come together. You can see I've got the main beam at least put in the car here, and it was more or less put in there, just a couple bolts in, to kind of get a feel for how everything's going to fit together. So you can see I've still got a kind of a rat's nest there that still needs to slim down just a little bit more, but a lot of that really needs to stay, other than I need to untangle and unsnarl it. So just basically depin each connector, make the harnesses a nice connection together, and then just kind of make it pretty, I guess, to fit under carpet. So I have run the alternator wire, which is this one here. This is the alternator coming in, and then the green and the red are the starter wires. So the red is 4 gauge running from the back to the front, and the green is 8 gauge for the starter solenoid. Now, when I did the other battery one, I don't know, a few months ago, one of you guys suggested to run everything from the trunk. So coming in, obviously the battery, this is the quarter here. That's the factory starter relay, and then that is a breaker, 150 amp breaker I got off Amazon. So this is the alternator wire coming into that. Obviously, I made a little loop down here to the starter solenoid, and then this is the trigger wire. So I need to put this one in, which is the ignition switch, to tell the starter solenoid or the starter relay to make power go from here to here. So you can kind of see in here, this heat wrap is the starter wire coming through. So I've got it kind of through this pocket going up with the fuel lines here. So it tucks in there nicely. Now I've already jumped at the solenoid from the battery over to the starter itself, so I know the starter works. It kicks the engine over. Of course, fuel system isn't completely done, nor is the ECM to make it all work, but it at least turns the engine over, which is great because it makes some nice noise, you know, that old Ford starter noise. It's nice to hear it again. Now, one thing I definitely have been missing before I put this in is that I need to get the HVAC box all put together. I took HC out of the HVAC box because the previous owner, or a previous owner of this car, of the WideFox, had taken all the AC out of the engine bay in that. So I took it out of the HVAC box, which left me a big hole. So the big hole left is this opening here. And this is the back, so this is obviously the blower motor. Heater core goes up top here, and this is where the HVAC core used to fit in there. So by taking this out, it really leaves this big hole in the HVAC box that is basically, I mean, it's just a hole. You know, there's nothing going in there. So no matter how much, I guess you try to get the air to flow through the heater core or anything for heat, since it won't have AC, it's just going to come out the back. So you've got to plug this up. Now, I thought about just putting this in DEI boom mat, basically just slathering it over there and sealing it up that way, which would work. But I thought, why not spend the time to make a cover to go over it? So I did. I used some CAD, some cardboard aided drafting, and I came up with a small, basically 2D template that fit everywhere in here. Now, this doesn't transfer well from 2D to 3D with plastic because it's not exactly a molded cover. It kind of slims down at the end. So I went to Home Depot. Where's the plastic? And I got some thermoformed sheet plastic. Now this is thermoplastic, basically meaning you can heat it, fold it, let it cool, and it's structurally basically as strong as it was. So it took me 2 tries to form a cover. Now, this is clear, so it's on the back, it doesn't matter. But what it does is it forms over this. And if I show you the box, what it will do is it goes right over the back. So there's the cover on the back. And what I ended up doing was really, I tried the first time to kind of do relief cuts in it to make it form, and it just got really hard and brittle. So I kind of broke into pieces, so I had to start over. So I cut out my basic sheet, used my heat gun to heat it up piece by piece, and then I just formed it with my fingers. I used welding gloves because it was hot, and it's going to fit over that. So I'm going to just seal this edge up, and then this is nice and hard. It's going to work, and then I can reassemble the HVAC box and put that back in the car. Then it's just finishing up the wiring. The last 2 weeks, I've really been kind of walking around the shop and that saying, you know, when that car is running, I kept saying that. And so my wife, one night I was in here trying to sand on the hood, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna get ready to wrap it. And she came in and said, I'm drawing a line in the sand. You cannot touch wrap on that car until the darn thing runs and you can drive it. So the next 2 weeks, I'm doing nothing but making this car drivable, which means brakes need to be bled, fuel system, wiring, etc. So the next 2 weeks for me in my real 9-to-5 job is going to be very slow because the factory I support is on a maintenance shutdown for 2 weeks. That means I get a lot of time during the day and the night to where I can get out here in the shop and really get stuff done. So mark my words, my goal, 2 weeks is this car will be running. So that will be the weekend after July 4th. So like July 10th, I think 10th, is a Sunday, and this car needs to be running. So with the WideFox figured out, that I think I'll have it running in a couple weeks. I mentioned I'll have the wrap stuff probably first part of July, and then I think I'll have it wrapped by the end of July maybe. That should, in theory, have a running car wrapped, and I'll just tinker with putting the interior back in and that and getting all situated. What that means is that WideFox for this year, keeping my fingers crossed, will be done and I can leave it alone. So that brings us to the 86. I've kind of honestly been thinking of selling it, and I got talked out of it really. Basically, not really selling it, but it's not depreciating anymore based on sitting here. And I've been tinkering, deciding what's killing the budget for it is paint. It's half the budget of what I figured I could do with the 86, and that's why I was kind of thinking of selling it. So really I'm going to take paint off the table at this point, and I'm going to restore the 86, the Gray Lady, new sails and do all that stuff, and quarter panels and the sails and everything else. I'm going to get all that done, and I think I'm just going to make this a driver. So it runs and drives. I need to figure out, kind of work the bugs out of it anyway. So I'm just going to replace all the stuff that needs replacing, get the interior very cleaned up, new carpet, etc. And then I'm going to drive the crap out of this car. So this may be the one we take to town when we don't need to go get feed or anything heavy. Maybe this is my Versa replacement that I sold the Versa, and maybe this becomes my new kick-around car that I take to town and go get lunch in or whatever else. So that may be the fun thing. Now, I did do some wrapping this last weekend. Guy asked me to do some corner lights on a Subaru and that, and man, it just kept the bug going for vinyl. I may end up vinyl wrapping that. I'm kind of back on that. And with the WideFox being a coupe, if I do a hatch, I can do a separate series of how to do it, even though a lot of overlaps. It'll be a little different because it's not a wide body, it's a standard body Fox, and it'll be a little bit different, so I can have both of those for content if you guys want to see how to do one or the other, and then you can mix and match. If you have standard fenders with a coupe, you know, you can mix and match there. So with doing a little bit more vinyl work, the 86 is going to be a restoration project versus a resto mod, basically. That has really left me with some decisions on a business. So my 9-to-5 job, it's been kind of tumultuous lately, and it's not really dealing with me, it's dealing more of some of the management, and we're getting changes and all that stuff. And you know, it's kind of like, what do you see in the future? And 5 years from now, I don't know what it's going to be. So my wife and I sat down and had this discussion 2 nights ago about defining the vision of what Basin Motorsports is going to be. I did the wrap class so that I can do wrapping. She wants some stuff done in her Suburban. The WideFox will be wrapped, so it'll be kind of like a rolling business card of what I can do, obviously with some fiberglass, some bodywork, some vinyl, builds from scratch to complete, and then restorations will be kind of what the 86 shows. I'm going to put together a series of wrapping a full-size Chevy. Now, of course, this old blue here is my kick-around vehicle when I go to town and everything else, and I've got some stickers. And I showed you in the video, which I'll post a link there of when I brought it home, the bumpers are all beat up, it's got damaged on the body, and it's just got a lot of little things that really need to be maintained that I've never done, and I really wasn't going to do. But since my wife and I had this discussion, she kind of gave me that look that said, you're driving around in a turd, man. Stop making it your business card if you want people to bring you business. So I'm going to refresh this sucker. You can buy these things now for a couple $1,000. I think I paid $3,000 for this one, and we paid $3,500 for her Suburban. And if you get one of those, they run forever if you take care of them, but they get kind of long in the tooth on looks. So I'm going to refresh mine, and then I'm going to do a little bit on hers for vinyl wrap that we're going to tinker with in that for her rabbit stuff and the homestead and everything else. So new playlist coming for that. Mustang on the 86 is changing a little bit, and the WideFox, mark it down, 2 weeks. Y'all hold me accountable. It's going to make some noise. Alright guys, so there you go. There's some content for this week of a little bit of business direction for Basin Motorsports. I've put together mentally, I haven't put it on paper yet, a 5-year plan for what I want the shop to be in 5 years. And maybe that becomes my new career in that. So 86 has got some new direction, WideFox, 2 weeks. And then I'll do a restoration series on the Suburban of how to wrap it and clean it all up and everything else. So if you guys are interested in that, maybe you want to jump into a Chevy or a Ford or anything else, I'll kind of give you some tips on how to wrap such a large vehicle versus wrapping some Mustangs and that. So stay tuned. Let me know what you guys think. Am I headed in the right direction? Otherwise, see you next weekend.